Well, let us remember that we are in the holy presence of God. Jesus went to the Mount of Olives, but early in the morning he arrived again in the temple area, and all the people started coming to him, and he sat down and taught them. Then the scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery, and made her stand in the middle. They said to him, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the very act of committing adultery. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. So, what do you say?" They said this to test him, so that they could have some charge to bring against him. Jesus bent down and began to write on the ground with his finger. But when they continued asking him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let the one among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Again he bent down and wrote on the ground. And in response they went away one by one, beginning with the elders. So he was left alone with the woman before him. Then Jesus straightened up and said to her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" She replied, "No one, sir." Then Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on do not sin anymore." It's true that they're totally ulterior motives, isn't it? This gospel. It's not even the adultery of the woman that they're so interested in. They're interested in trapping Jesus. And it's amazing how often in the Gospels you run into this. They're trying to trap him. So you think, for example, of the coin. They bring him the coin. Is it lawful to pay the... Or they don't actually bring it. They say, is it lawful to pay the temple, the tax or not? He says, well, give me a coin. Show me the coin. You know, I mean, and because if he says this, he's going to get in trouble with the faithful Jews. And if he says this, he's going to get in trouble with the Romans. If he says, no, don't pay the tax, you're in trouble with the Romans. If you say, yes, pay the tax, then you're in trouble with the Jews who oppose the Romans. And so, no, he says, give me the coin. Give to Caesar what's Caesar's, give to God what's God. I mean, he's always finding a way through a trap. And that's what's fascinating about this. Mm-hmm. He knows this is a trap. Mm-hmm. He knows they're not truly interested in the purity of marriage, or the man would be there too. Right? Yeah. And by the way, you know, in the law of Moses, so if you look, I think it's in the book of Numbers. I mean, it's I think they call this kind of thing trial by ordeal. It's what they used to do with the witches, presumed or accused witches in Salem. You know, what is it? They throw you in water, and if you sink, you're a witch, or if you float, you're not. Or something.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
If you drown, you weren't a witch, and if you float, you're a witch.
Yeah, good
in
luck.
In which case, you're going to get killed
man.
anyway.
So they had something similar for those caught or accused of adultery. You would go before a priest, and they would have some test with water. I think you drank it. There would be some sacred dust from a sacred place in the water. You drink it, and if something happened, then you were guilty, and if it didn't happen. So, you know, the law of Moses, and then you would be killed. And it was for both. It wasn't just for the woman. It was for both the man and the woman. So, you know, Moses says they should be... Now, what do you say? Well, if he says, no, don't stone her, then he's in trouble with those who are faithful Jews. If he says, yes, stone her, then he's in trouble with others who say, this is inhuman. What kind of prophet is this? By the way, there are people, I mean, you hear about the Taliban or somebody in Afghanistan or ISIS. I mean, they do this kind of thing. I mean, this is, oh my, you know, this kind of punishment still exists in some religious cultures. Or you hear of like honor killings. among some in some parts of the world. But Jesus escapes the trap. It's fascinating. Let the one among you without sin be the first to walk away, or to cast a stone.
And he walked away.
And it's interesting because there are three groups. There's three groups mentioned. I mean, it's kind of the whole establishment. There's three groups mentioned in this reading as kind of opposing Jesus. There's the scribes, the Pharisees, and the elders. Okay, so you've got the scribes, those who can read and write, and they know some of the religious law, and people would go to them. They're kind of like, kind of legal experts of a sort. And then there's the Pharisees, a particular religious party that is very lay-driven. And then there's the elders, who help govern Jerusalem with the priestly class. So they're actually in league with the Sadducees and the priestly class. All three would love to trap this guy. They're all against it, and he finds his way through the trap. It's kind of a leitmotif in the Gospels. Even in Luke's Gospel, when he first preaches to the people of Nazareth, and they rise up against him, and it says he escapes through their midst. He has this incredible wisdom. You know, it's a human wisdom, but it's informed because he is the divine person. It's just amazing. And then he's left one-on-one with the woman. And isn't she all of us? Has no one condemned you? No one. Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. It's just a beautiful reading in this year of mercy. And so maybe with that we could say a little prayer together. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit,
as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.